Oh, now I get it.
Welcome back to another video. In this lesson, we're going to be focusing on volume, and we're going to firstly look at area of 2D shapes, and then we move into how it translates into working with volume. So let's have a look at the first question, where we're being asked about the area of the rectangle. So we're going to be finding the area of the rectangle. Therefore, we can see that the formula for working with the area of a rectangle is just going to be the base multiplied by the height. So we're going to do 6 multiplied by 4, which is going to give us 24. So the unit that we're going to be working with here, we can see that centimeters is the unit. Therefore, this would need to be centimeter squared. So squared unit for area. And let's have a look at the second question. Over here, we're being asked to work out the volume of the cuboid. So when we are working with the volume of the cuboid, we need the area of the cross section. The cross section is this face that we have right here. Once we have the area of the face, we simply multiply it by how long it is, the shape is, to get the volume. So let's have a look at finding the area, which is a rectangle shape here. So let's find the area of the rectangle. So we're going to do 3 multiplied by 6, or 6 multiplied by 3, which is going to give us 18. And we can see that we're working with meters in this case. Therefore, this is going to be meter squared for the area. After which we can find the volume. So the volume would now be equal to 18 multiplied by how long the shape is. And we can see here that the shape is 9 meters long. So this is going to be multiplied by 9. And when we do this calculation, we can see here that we're going to be getting 162 meter and now cube, because we are going to be measuring in cubic units. We're going to be measuring in cubic units. Okay, so let's have a look at the next question. So we're being asked to work out the area of the square. And to find the area of a square, we're simply going to be multiplying the side by side, because in a square, all of the sides are equal. So I can simply put these marks in if I wanted to remind myself that all of the sides are going to be equal. Therefore, side multiplied by side would just be 5 multiplied by 5, which is going to give us 25. And the unit is centimeters, so therefore this is going to be centimeter squared for the area of the square. Now, as it relates, we can now work with the volume of a cube. So we're working with the volume of the cube, and to find the volume of the cube, again, we are going to be recognizing that we would need the cross section, the area of this cross section that we have right here, which is also a square. So we know that this side is also going to be 4 millimeters, and this side here is going to be 4 millimeters for the length. So to find the area of the shaded section, which is the area of the cross section there, we're going to do 4 multiplied by 4, which is going to give us 16. The unit is millimeters, so this is going to be millimeters cubed. And then we can find the volume by multiplying 16 by how long the shape actually is. And we can see that the shape is 4 millimeters as well. So this is going to be volume would now be equal to 16 multiplied by 4. And 16 multiplied by 4 is going to give us 64 millimeters and we need cubic units. So this is going to be millimeters cube for our final answer. You may pause the video here and use the formula for the area of a triangle for working out the area of a triangle, and then see if you can find the volume of the triangular prism that we have there on the right. Okay, welcome back if you had a go. Let's have a look at finding the area of the triangle. So we are being asked for the area of this triangle. Therefore, we would need to halve the base and then multiply it by the height. Or we can also halve the height and multiply it by the base. In some cases, you will also hear base times height and then you divide by 2. Any one of those methods would be able to work. So here, the base is 16 and I can halve that value. So I am going to firstly halve the 16, and half of 16 is going to give us 8. So therefore, I am going to now have 8 multiplied by 12. So that would be half of the base, which is now 8, and 8 multiplied by 12, and we are going to be getting 96 centimeters squared, because we are working with centimeters there for the unit. So this would be centimeter squared. Then let's have a look over the right to see, now that we are working with the volume, so we're being asked now to work out the volume. So we're looking at these numbers that we have just the same, and we're going to be applying the area of the triangle first. So we need the area of this cross section, which is a triangle, and we need to first find the area of this triangle. So I am going to halve the base, which is going to be half of 10 would have been 5, and then I am going to be doing 5 multiplied by 8, which is going to give us 40. That 40 would be the area of the triangle. So we have centimeters there, therefore this is going to be centimeters squared because we're working with the area of the triangle. So to find the volume, this is going to be 40 multiplied by how long the shape is, and we can see here that the shape is 12 centimeters long. So this is going to give us 40 multiplied by 12, which is going to give us 480 centimeter cube, and this would have been the volume of the triangular prism. So well done if you got that question correct. Let's have a look at another shape. Here we have a trapezium, and we're being asked to find the area of the trapezium. When we're finding the area of the trapezium, this would be the formula. As it relates to this formula, the A and the B has to do with the parallel sides. So that's the first step that we're going to be making, and you usually see arrows on the parallel sides. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to add the parallel sides. So this would be 5 plus 7, which is going to be equal to 12. And then we're going to be dividing by 2. So 12 divided by 2 would equal to 6. And then we're going to be multiplying 6 by the height. We're going to be multiplying 6 by the height, which is going to be equal to 36. The unit that we're working with here is centimeters, so this would be centimeter squared for the area of this trapezium. So when we have a trapezium making a 3D shape here, which would give us the volume, again, we are going to be applying the same principle for the area of the trapezium. So I need the area of this trapezium. So again, we can see that the parallel sides, so the parallel sides would have been these two sides right here. Let's change that color there. So these sides would have been the parallel sides. So we have the 3 centimeters and the 7 centimeters. So let's add 3 plus the 7 is going to be making 10. And then step 2 would be to divide by 2. So 10 divided by 2 is going to give us 5. And then we're multiplying 5 times the height. 5 multiplied by 5 would be equal to 25. So this would now be the area of the trapezium. So this is measured in centimeters. So the area of the trapezium would have been 25 centimeter squared. So for us to find the volume, we're now going to be multiplying this 25 by how long the shape actually is. So the shape is 12 centimeters. So therefore, we're going to be multiplying our 25 by 12 right here. And this is going to give us 300 centimeter cube, because everything there is measured in centimeters. So this would have been the volume of this prism. Okay. So let's have a look now at the area of a circle, and we can see here that the formula for working with the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. So the radius always begins from the center and goes to the circumference of the circle. So this is the center of the circle, and it extends to the edge of the circle, which we called the circumference. So therefore, this would be r in this case. So r would be equal to 5 centimeters. So let's see if we can apply this. So we have pi multiplied by r, and r is 5, and we're supposed to square this. Therefore, this is going to be 5 squared. 5 squared multiplied by pi would be 25 pi. If we wanted, we can record this to 1 decimal place. So on our calculator, 25 multiplied by pi would be equal to 78.539 and so on. So if we wanted to record this to 1 decimal place, therefore we would go to the 3 to record to 1 decimal place, and then we will ask, is that digit 5 or bigger? So since it's smaller than 5, then everything from the 3 to the right will be cancelled. So the final answer here would be 78.5 centimeter squared to 1 dp, 1 decimal place. Let's have a look at the second circle. From here, we can see that we have the center, and this line actually cuts the circle into 2 halves. So this line is not referring or describing the radius. This is actually the diameter. Okay, so this is the diameter, and the diameter is 2 times the radius. So therefore, we can figure out what the radius is by halving the diameter. So in this case, we can say that r is going to be equal to 4 centimeters. So it's r that we need in the formula, pi times r squared. So therefore, we're going to do pi multiplied by 4 squared. And this is going to give us 4 times 4 would be 16. So this would be 16 pi. And if we record this to 1 decimal place, then we would have 50.265 and so on. And if we wanted to record it to 1 decimal place, again, we would go to the second decimal digit. And since this is bigger than 5, we would then add 1 to the 2 to make a 3. So this would become 50.3 centimeter squared. and this would be to 1 decimal place. Okay. Now, let's have a look at the question on the right relating now to the volume of a cylinder. So we can see that this circle is part of the cylinder, which means that we need the area of that circle. And we need to carefully look at what we've been given for the circle. And we can see that this line again is going right across the circle. So therefore this is describing the diameter. So the diameter is 18. So therefore for us to find the radius, r would be half of 18, which is just going to give us 9. So in this case, we're now going to be working with finding the volume of the cylinder. So again, we start with pi multiplied by r, which is 9, and we square that. So now we have 9 multiplied by 9, which is going to give us 81, and 81 pi. So if we have a length that we're going to call 25 centimeters for that length, then in this case we can find the volume. So now we're going to be working with the volume. So the volume would be now the area of the circle. So this would be measured in centimeters squared for the area of the circle. So 81 pi multiplied by how long the shape is. And we can see here that the length would have been 25 centimeters. So we're going to be multiplying this by 25 centimeters. So 81 pi multiplied by 25 is going to give us to, we're going to record this to 1 decimal place. So we would have 6,361.725 and so on. So if we wanted to record to 1 decimal place, we would go to the 2, and since 2 is smaller than 5, then everything from the 2 to the right will be cancelled. So our final answer there to 1 decimal place would be 6,361.7, and this should be measured in centimeter cube as our final answer. You may now have a go at these questions, and please pause the video and then return to see what the answers would have been. Okay, welcome back if you had a go. These would have been your answers. And please also pay attention to the units. So well done if you had gotten those questions correct. Now we're going to be focusing on working backwards using reverse volume. So let's have a look. So now we've been given the volume. So we were told that the cuboid has a volume of 28 centimeter cube, and we're being asked to work out the value of y. So if we're being asked to work out the value of y, then that means again we will start with the area of the cross section like what we have always done. So we need the area of the cross section right here. Okay, so let's have a look and see what's happening here. So we're going to be doing 2 multiplied by y, which is going to give us 2y, and that would be the area of the cross section. Okay, and then when we have the area of the cross section, we multiply it by how long the shape actually is. So now we're going to do 2y, and we multiply it by how long the shape is, and the shape is 7 centimeters. So let's multiply by 7 centimeters, and this would now be 14y. So 2y multiplied by 7 would give us 14y, and 14y is representing the volume. this is representing the volume as an expression. So therefore, from this, we can set this equal to what they said the actual value of the volume is. So we have 14y is equal to what they said the volume would have been. And we are told that the volume is 28 centimeter cubed. So these two things are equal because both of them are actually describing the volume. So we're going to be solving this equation, and to do this we are searching for 1y. Therefore we are going to be dividing this side by 14 and dividing the right side by 14, and 28 divided by 14 would have been 2. Therefore the value of y would just be 2 centimeters. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. So similarly, over here we have the cuboid has a volume of 108 centimeter cube. So we've been told what the actual value of the volume is. So once again, we're going to be repeating the same thing. So we're going to be firstly finding the area of the cross section, so the area of this section. So this again would have been our 2 multiplied by y. So 2 multiplied by y would have given us the area. So this is just going to give us 2y. And then the area is going to be multiplied by how long the shape is. And we know that the shape is 9 centimeters. So therefore this is going to be 2y multiplied by 9, which is going to give us 2 times 9 would give us 18. So this is going to be 18y. So now we can see that we're going to now have 18y is equal to the actual value of the volume. So which is going to be 108 centimeter cube. So these two expressions on the left and on the right, they're referring and describing to the volume. So we want 1y, so therefore we're going to be dividing both sides by 18. And 108 divided by 18 is going to give us 6. So the value of y in this case would have been 6. Let's have a look at another one. Here we're being told that the cube has a volume of 64 centimeter cube, and we're being asked for y. So keep in mind that a cube, all the sides are the same. Therefore, this would have been y, and here would have also been y. So when we are going to be finding the area of the cross section, so we need the area right here for the cross section, we can see that we're going to be multiplying y times y, which is going to give us y squared. So that would be the area of the cross section, and then we multiply it by how long the shape is. And again, we can see that the length of the shape is going to be y. So this is going to be y squared multiplied by y. So if we look at indices, if we multiply the same base, then we add the powers. So this is going to become y cube. So this expression is representing the volume of the cube. So we've been told what the volume of the cube actually is. So we now would have y cube is equal to the actual value, which is 64 centimeter cube. And we need to work inversely from cubing. The inverse of cubing is to take the cube root. Therefore, if we wanted to find the value of 1y, then we would take the cube root. So we're going to be taking the cube root of 64. In other words, what number multiplies by itself 3 times to get 64? And that would have been 4. So therefore y would be equal to 4 centimeters. let's have a look at the next one. You may pause the video and have a go at this question. So likewise, we have the cube has a volume of 216 centimeter cube, and we're being asked again to calculate the value of y. So please pause the video and have a go and return when you're ready for your answer. Okay, welcome back if you had a go. So we are going to be focusing on the cube. So we know that all the sides of the cube are going to be the same. Okay, therefore I want to find the area of the cross section to start off with. So the area of this cross section is just going to be the side multiplied by the side. So we have y multiplied by y, which is going to give us y squared. And then that's the area of the yellow section, or the cross section. And then we're going to be multiplying that area by how long the shape is. And the shape is y units, or y centimeters there. So we're going to now have y squared multiplied by y, which is going to give us y cubed. And y cubed is representing the volume. And we've been told what the value of the volume is. So the volume is 216 centimeter cube. So therefore we're going to have y cubed is going to be equal to 216 centimeter cube. So again, we need to undo cubing. So to undo cube, we are going to take the cube root. So therefore we're going to have y is equal to the cube root of 216. And this is asking us what number multiplies by itself 3 times to make 216. And this is going to be 6. So therefore y would be equal to 6 centimeters. Let's now have a look at 2 other problems. So we've been told that the triangular prism has a volume of 60 centimeter cube. So we've been told the volume is 60 centimeter cube, and we're being asked to work out the value of y. So once again, we want the area of the cross section. So here we have the cross section. And we know to find the area of a triangle, we're going to halve the base. And the base is 3, so half of 3 would have been 1.5. So let me just take that out and put my 1.5 in. So this is coming out, and I'm going to be putting my 1.5 in. Just change that color there to 1.5. Okay. So therefore, this is going to be 1.5 multiplied by the height, which is now going to be y. And this is going to simplify to 1.5 y. So that's the area of the cross section. I am always going to be multiplying the area by the length of the shape to get the volume. So this is now going to be, we're going to be multiplying this. So we have 1.5 y multiplied by 8. And when we do that, we're going to be getting our 12y. So this would now be 12y. So this 12y is representing the volume of the triangular prism. Therefore, I am going to be setting 12y being equal to the actual value of the volume, which is 60 centimeter cubed. I am going to be searching for 1y. So I'm going to be dividing both sides by 12. So 60 divided by 12 would have been 5. And that would have been our answer there for this question. You may pause the video and have a go at question number 6 and return when you're ready for your answer. Okay, welcome back if you had a go. So Again, we've been given this triangular prism and we're being asked for the value of y, and we've also been told what the volume is. So because we've been told what the volume is, let's have a look at this question. So here we go. So firstly, we can see that we want the area of the cross section. So we want this area, and we are going to be halving the 5, or we can halve the 6. It's easier for me to halve the 6, so I'm going to be doing 6 divided by 2, which is just going to give us 3. So for me to find the area, I'm now going to be doing 3 multiplied by 5, which is going to give us 15. So the area of the triangle would have been 15 centimeters squared. Then I'm going to be multiplying that 15 by how long the shape actually is. So now I'm going to be doing 15 multiplied by y, which is going to give us 15y. So 15y is representing my volume, and I've also been told what the actual value of the volume is. So now I would have 15y is equal to the actual value of the volume, which is going to be 120 centimeter cubed. I am searching for 1y, so therefore I'm going to be dividing both sides by 15. So 120 divided by 15 would have given us a value there of 8. So therefore y would be equal to 8. So well done if you got that question correct. For the very last part of what we're going to be doing here, we're going to be focusing on working out the volume reversely for a cylinder. So in this case, let's have a look at question number 7. So keep in mind what the formula is for working out the area of a circle, which is pi r squared. Okay, so I'll just keep that there. Pi r squared is what we need, okay, for the area of the circle. So carefully inspect the circle to find out what you have been given. So in this case, we have been given the length from the center. If it's coming from the center going to the circumference, then it would be the radius. So in this case, we can see that the r, the radius, is actually represented by y, which is what we need. So therefore, we are going to have pi multiplied by r, which is represented by y. So this would be y squared. So this would give us the area of the circle. So now we have pi y squared, which is representing the area of the circle. Once we have the area, we always multiply the area by how long or how tall the shape actually is. So now we can see that we have pi y squared is going to be multiplied by 11. So this is going to simplify to 11 pi y squared. 11 pi y squared. Please keep in mind that pi is just a number, 3.14 and so on. So therefore we have 11 being multiplied by 3.14 multiplied by y squared. So this gives us the value of the volume as an expression. But we have also been told what the volume of the cylinder is as a value. So these two expressions, they must be equal. So therefore, I am going to have 11 pi y squared is going to be equal to 863.9. And I want to divide both sides to get y squared first. To get y squared first, I am going to be dividing both sides by 11 pi. So if I divide both sides by 11 pi to get 1y squared, Need to divide the right side also by 11 pi. And I'm just going to keep it as a fraction to start off with here. So we have 863.9 upon 11 pi. And I don't want to round this answer too quickly, because I would still need to now take the square root, because I need to undo squaring, which is now going to take the square root. So for my final part of the expression that I would write down is that y would be equal to the square root of 863.9 all divided by 11 pi. And this is now going to give me an answer of 4.99, or we can say 5 to the nearest whole number, or 5 to the nearest whole number. Okay, let me just put it down below. So equals to 5 to the nearest integer or whole number. Okay, so y would be equal to 5 centimeters. Okay, you can pause the video and have a go at the next question and return when you are ready for your solution. Okay, welcome back if you had a go. So let's see how well you've got on with this question. So again, we have a circular face, which means that we need to focus on what they gave to us, what we've been given there. So we can see that the line that we have, it is going right across the circle, and it's cutting the circle into two halves. The line that does that would have been the diameter. So we can see here that the diameter would have been 12, therefore the radius would be 6. And we keep in mind what we need. We need pi r squared. So it's the r that we need. We don't need the diameter. So we need the radius. Therefore, I'm going to start off with pi multiplied by r, and r is 6, and I'm going to be squaring that. So this would now become 6 squared would be 36. So this would be 36 pi. And this represents the area of the circle. So what we're going to do now, we are going to be multiplying the area by how long the shape actually is. And the shape is y centimeters long. So therefore, this is going to be 36 pi multiplied by y. And that's going to give us 36y pi. So we can see that, or we can say 36 pi y. So we have 36 pi y, which is now going to be representing our volume. So this is going to represent our volume. We've been told what the value of the volume of the cylinder actually is. So we're going to set these two things equal to each other, because we now have 36 pi y is going to be equal to 254.5 centimeter cube. And again, we're searching for only one y. So to do that, we are now going to be dividing both sides by 36 pi. So I'm going to be dividing this side by 36 pi and dividing this side also by 36 pi. And that would give me y straight by itself, okay, which is what I need. So therefore, this would be 254.5 all divided by 36 pi. So if I put this into my calculator, I am going to be getting 2.25. So this would be equals to 2.25. And I want my answer recorded to 1 decimal place. I want my answer to 1 decimal place. So therefore, this would result in our final answer here of y being equal to 2.3 centimeters. Here are some questions for you to try. Please pause the video and have a go and return when you are ready for your answers. Okay, welcome back. These are the answers. I hope you got those answers in your calculations. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe and share, and turn on your post notification bell to receive more updates whenever I upload new content for you. I hope that after watching this video, you have turned your "I don't get that" into "Oh, now I get it." I will see you in the next one.